All right. Hi, guys. This is going to be a quick overview of how to do citations, especially Chicago. So, I'm just going to start briefly with explaining, at least over here in the United States, we have three main forms of citations: APA, MLA, and Chicago. Most of you should have already learned MLA since it should be part of the curriculum in K through 12, especially middle school and high school. This is going to be the one where you put in parentheses your author last name, comma, the page number. APA is really similar. They also do those parentheses or parenthetical citations, except they add the year that it was published. This is going to be more your social sciences, anthropology and archaeology, and a few others kind of will let the professors will let their students publish in this manner, but it's just not a very common style. Chicago is going to be the one that's really important and the most difficult to use. It is the one that most of academia uses because it takes all those citations, especially if you're citing multiple sources, and it puts them at the bottom of the page or into the next chapter. I'm sorry, at the end of the chapter. So it's going to be your medical journals, it's going to be your historians, it's going to be anthropologists, it's going to be other social sciences, psychologists, your sciences, biology, chemistry. So most of you should try to at least learn how to do this before you hit upper undergrad. So parenthetical citations, this is going to be your MLA and APA. I'm going to leave this in here for you guys to look over. But what's going to happen here is I want you guys to notice, first off, it goes at the end of a sentence, right before the period, author last name, comma, number. Down here, there is a little cheat sheet moment where it's really important that you reference your sources to us, whether it's an article, is it a documentary, is it by a certain service like Fox News, who's the author. You don't have to put all of this into one sentence, but telling us one or two things can help make your argument more credible by telling us what your source is and if you think it's credible. Now, if you write, for example, you guys have to read A Thousand Splendid Suns. If you write that it's authored by Khaled Hosseini, you've already told us who it is. You don't have to write his name twice. So what you can do is you can put Hosseini, and then right after his name attached to the author's name, you can put the page number. You can do the same thing in APA, where, as I said, you include the publication year, and then you would put the page number. It either can go at the end of the sentence or it can go after the name. Now, Chicago's what we're here for. This is the tricky one. My apologies, this is actually now the 18th edition. The footnotes always go at the end of the sentence. They are on the outside of the period, so it would be here in a subscript. And then from there, I do need to mention that there is a newer form that's you're going to find in publicated books where they put footnotes at the end of a paragraph. Or this is going to be more commonly your endnotes as well, which means that they just have a lot of sources. It could be 12 sources for a 5-sentence paragraph, and they're just putting them all at the end. However, because you guys are writing papers, it's really important that you put it at the end of each sentence, just so it's easier for things to follow along. This is also what you're going to do for articles. Now, how do we do it? I want you guys to note that this is how we do the footnote format, okay? What I'm about to take you through. Each source you have, like let's say we're taking A Thousand Splendid Suns and we're taking an article and we're writing a paper about it. For each source, they have to go through a series of steps. You have to always give me the full citation, okay? And then we'll start to talk about what it means to shorten them. So for Hosseini's book, I would have to write a full citation, and then I can shorten it after that. If I have to take this other article, I have to give the full citation, and then we'll shorten it after that. And if you stay for the whole video, I'll show you an example of this. Now, in the footnotes, not the bibliography, you're going to go author last name, first name. Now, let's say I have an article title. I'm going to put my publisher, my year of publish, and my access date. This would be a great example for a website. The access date is going to be the day that you looked up the publication, all right? It can also be the catalog you found it in would go right here before the access date, all sorts of little nuances. If you are looking at a book, it's going to be the author again, the book title, which is going to be in italics. Notice how chapters and articles go in quotation marks. And then the publisher, the year it was published, and then the page number or range in your footnote. If you're doing a chapter, it's going to be the name of the author of that chapter, that title, the book title. It no longer says in whatever the book title is or the journal title. We're just going to put that in italics. This can also apply not just to books, but to if you're looking into a historical journal of some sort. There's usually different academic groups that will combine different essays into a journal and publish it that way. Then you're going to put this ed, it means the editor. It means it's been edited by, my apologies, it'll actually say edited by, and then the name of the editor, the publisher, the year, and then the page range. You can also do the same thing with images. Now, let's talk about what it means to have a shortened title. So, as I said, we start with our full citation, which means it has the whole publication info, the year, everything. Then we're going to go into a shortened version. It's going to be the last name of the author, the title, either in italics or in the quotation marks, and then your page number. Some versions will actually let you shorten it, where you just give the author and the page number. Some will also include the year in the middle. If there is more than one author, meaning there are 3 authors, you're going to list the first one as last name, first name, and then you're going to put this little thing called et al. And then you'll put the title and the page number. So, there are a few nuances. For example, you probably have seen ibid. Ibid is a short Latin word, basically meaning something that is already there. They used to use it when you were using the same source back to back. So if I'm referring to Khaled Hosseini's A Thousand Splendid Suns, and then my next sentence also refers to him, you would put ibid, comma, and then the page number. Most of your professors are going to still let you use this. However, if you are ever publishing something, it is no longer used in academia. We now use these shortened versions so that there's no confusion as to what the publication was. There are a few nuances that are different in the bibliographies. Most of them will replace the commas with periods. You also will include your URL links and a number of other things. Now, what I do also want to point out is multiple authors get really crazy, all right, in both footnotes and bibliographies. What you do is you put the last name and the first name of the first author that appears, and then you put the first name and last name of the next author. So, for example, if we have 2 authors, let's call them William Jenks and Rebecca Wilsey. It's going to look like this. It's going to be Jenks, comma, William, and Rebecca Wilsey. And then you would put the title, the publisher, and the year. All right. I will, just because I don't have an example of this coming up, I did want to showcase this. Also in here, I'm going to have things that show you guys how to insert footnotes into Google Docs. And you can look at these images here. They'll show you to go through and click the footnote. It's really important you don't create a footer. Footers and headers are repeated across the pages unless you tell it not to, and that's way more painful. There are some places that'll help you create free bibliographies, and they'll give you manuals on in-text citations. Chicago Manual of Style is going to be your most up-to-date. Be careful. Some of these other links are great for creating citations. You got to make sure both that they are correct. You usually have to manually correct something. And some of them may be using an older version. Okay? Down here, I've included some changes that have happened in just the last 5 years, and it's consistently changing. Some of your journals and databases are going to also auto-generate citations for you, JSTOR, ProQuest Central, and others like that. You'll usually find it in the menu or left-hand bar. You can also check these for the references, the publishing info, when it was published, and that'll help you check the citations too. They usually cite MLA and Chicago. Some of them will cite APA as well. You also always have to include the database information because they're considered part of copyright through their services. So that usually goes right before your access date. So double check what they put into their citations on where to put it. And then you can place them in the citation and add a URL link. It's really important that you use a DOI link, which is a shortened form of the link that'll still take you there. And they'll provide that in the menu. That is all for your quick blurb. All of this will be there. And if you want, you can leave now. I will also be showing you guys a quick example of some citations I did if you want more closer examples. So here's my footnote. This is, I did not have an author. This is a website explaining who Kathleen Duval is on the faculty at North Carolina at Chapel Hill. And so instead, I put my sponsor or the person who helped publish this at the forefront. This is within the website article by the History Department Directory. The year was published, the day I got it from them, and then a page number. Even though there's no other page numbers, some people still prefer that you include that. This is an example of a book that I cited by Kathleen Duval. And this is her publication info, the year was published, and this is my date range. Now note, if you guys want to do more than one source within one footnote, instead of putting them back to back, which is an old way or a way that people will edit wiki, it's not the way you should. You're supposed to put a semicolon right here in the middle to separate two sources. Now notice that I have also, this is an article, and it is, my apologies, I did an older version, in the history journal America History Now, and it is edited by Eric Forner from Temple University Press in 2011. Now notice up here, I have Kathleen Duval's Native Nations book. This is how I would create a shortened version. This is just her last name, a shortened version of a very long title that is recognizable, and then a page number. Hang in with me, guys. I'm going to show you a few other quick tricks. So down here, this is what IBID is. So I used Alan Taylor's squaring in circles multiple times. And so what I did is I said it is from the same source, Taylor squaring in circles, and this is the page number. You can also use footnotes to include little smaller tidbits or things that you want to reference but don't have the space within your text to do it. So in this, I was comparing a book to an article on the history of how we had studied that particular topic. And so I wanted to compare it to all of this information without referencing it and making a mess out of what I wrote. And last but not least, I also want to point out to you guys, sometimes when you do that, you also want to make sure you make it clear where it's coming from. Clarity is going to be key with Chicago citations, because here I made sure you know it's from Kathleen Duval. And the next one, I'm like, there's more references. So I still include her name, but I also make sure, because I'm using two sources for this footnote, that I'm separating who they are instead of writing IBID. And then she's down here again to separate her from Alan Taylor. If I had written IBID, you would be wondering if it was Kathleen Duval or Alan Taylor who wrote it. So making sure you stay clear and know what you're putting. Chicago's hard, but I hope this helps you guys.